Hi everyone, welcome. I thought to myself that it had been a while, quite a while, since we took a peek underneath the, this is the Castings Boulders tray. European nightcrawler worms living in material that was really pretty much finished vermicompost already, that had clumped together and dried that way. So we've got this little specialized system where this tray here has holes punched into the bottom of it. The idea was that I'd be able to keep it very, very damp in here for the worms. And if I went a little overboard, it would just drain down into the sump. But I've not really kept things quite that damp in here. Last time I did actually almost turn to covering the entire system with this plastic. I even mentioned doing exactly that, and then I forgot to. And I switched back to what had been here already, which is just covering up with this paper. It does seem to me like that would have been a good idea, and I'm not sure why I didn't follow through. But I think we probably will today if I don't forget. I guess we'll see. Even during the last check-in, I kind of draped out the plastic across the entire surface, mentioning how that's the way we're going to leave it at the end. I don't know, perhaps if I put it aside, stretched out like this already rather than folded small, it'll be our reminder to put it back that way. So this was kind of a neat setup that we left for these little guys during the last ping-pong feeding. By the ping-pong feeding, I just mean we've been alternating the side of the bin on which we feed. So since that's where we fed last time, we would, on this occasion, switch over that way. Before we forget, though, I think our disruption has caused them to pretty much clear out of here already, the flying insects, but I'm fairly certain that I saw quite a few, and they're usually in a place where there's some moisture. So my guess is that it's somewhere near the foods we left for the wormies, or at least the moisture kicking off of it, all that watermelon we left for them in these leaves. So even though I haven't been giving this mosquito dunks a whole lot of use lately, it does seem to me like a good idea to treat the system now before I forget. Not very deep, as you can see, very shallow as a matter of fact. And the worms definitely look nice and cozy in here. I could feel the moisture of the material. It's nice and damp. And all the worms that inhabit the material seem nice and plump and nice color and lively, which is kind of cool. These worms are pretty good about tracking down where the food is and gravitating towards to it. Gravitating towards to it? Is that what I said? So, all these leaves, last time too, what we did was we went to the previous feeding zone after checking things out. We found a bunch of nice leftover bedding there. In that case, it was paper. In this case, we've got leftover leafy matter bedding here, which I think perhaps we can, why don't we bring it with us when we set up the feeding on the opposite side of the system over there. We'll use this as foundational bedding, and I kind of like that idea. So my idea was just to come in with this little piece of paper and pile the leaves. I got this somewhat larger piece of paper. This should work better. And then they can have this paper here too, and that'll just be our bedding for today's feeding. Last time they got watermelon, and this time I was going to give them cantaloupe melon. And when I reached into the bag from the freezer in which the cantaloupe melon rind was stored, besides a bunch of cantaloupe melon rind that I pulled out for the wormies, out came, here's the cantaloupe melon rind. Stuck to it was half of a pear, bonus, big time bonus, and some banana peels too. So these worms are getting a nice treat today. There's a good bit of yummy melon attached to that melon rind over there, and there's a day's worth of coffee too. So that should be a pretty nice treat for them. And they're looking good over here. I definitely like what I see, but I also like the idea of leaving this side with minimal stuff for the worms to have interest in hanging out and remaining in. I mean, just the higher level of moisture in this material due to all the watermelon that was thrown in here. I would say that that's probably one thing that would probably keep them from not wanting to go venturing out and go elsewhere. And I guess that in itself might be motivation to want to leave that system, that side of the system, to dry a little bit and be exposed to the air. So maybe that would be a reason to not cover with plastic over there. On the other hand, I don't want to let systems get too dry. And so far I don't feel that as being an issue. But so far we've only examined the section of the bin where we added a whole bunch of watermelon. As we make our way across now to the other side of the bin where we're going to feed, I guess it's just a good opportunity to look over the material. Still see worms coming up as I upturn portions of it. Little fragments of leftover food and bedding and stuff. So we're not in some sort of a hazard zone. Clearly not as damp as the section where all the watermelon had been, but still damp enough for worms to be okay hanging out in it. So this is the side of the bin that we're feeding on today. So I'll just continue excavating and shoving over until we've given ourselves enough space into which we can set up today's ping-pong feeding for these little guys. I guess anywhere I encounter scraps of bedding or leftovers and stuff, then it would probably make sense just to get them down where the action's going to be. The section of the bin where we're trying to gravitate the crowd to. And things just seem kind of deep over here now. Perhaps we'll backfill a little bit after we've added the feeding and the bedding. I don't think it's going to take up that much space. Let's carefully bring back this little collection of now nicely seasoned leaves from 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks, 14 days since we last checked in on these little guys and gave them all that watermelon. So not much of a surprise that we didn't find any actual watermelon there. Oh boy. Out of what we're giving them here, I bet if we were to come back in another 12 days, which is very likely considering how I like to check in on systems on their milestone days, and in 12 days this system will be reaching 200 days of age. We're in a 188-day-old system, definitely an oddball system, with the bedding starting out as just a whole large collection of little things that I've referred to now for a while as boulders. This has always been the castings boulders bin, and as of a couple check-ins ago, the new strategy for trying to help these boulders transform into something a little bit more fluid and flaky and fine is for me to actually break them up. Which was always thought to be like a last resort or something to avoid, with the original mission plan being that the worms would work all the stuff down. And I'm sure they've helped contribute to the cause to some degree, but since that was the updated plan as of a couple check-ins ago, it does seem like I should keep to the plan and at least work through this material a little bit and try to break up a couple handfuls of boulders. I think as long as we do that at each check-in, we're contributing to the process, and perhaps that will be the only path that we can take to end up with a nice fine batch of material here. Otherwise we'll be condemned to live with boulders for the rest of our lives here. Man, we really laid down a really nice foundation onto which the foods can go, and I'm thinking now would be a good time just to include these paper products too. Nice assortment of bedding here. The already damp leaves, nicely seasoned from having been in here so long. And now we're definitely giving flying insects a reason to want to come over here and investigate what's going on. Look at all this delicious food. Oh boy. We'll put that pear right in the middle. That's going to be like the main treat. The banana peel I'm sure will still be here, at least the stem of it. And I'm sure some of the peel itself will remain too for a little while. And then luckily we've got this coffee that we could use to try to mask the tempting odor and scent of the delicious foods we're dropping in. We can even use a feeding zone indicator to help with that. And now, I do believe that leaving this stuff out here to dry doesn't make a lot of sense. The worms want to stay there, hang out. It's beautiful material. A lot of leafy matter remained. We didn't bring it all over. A lot of that was already well worked on by the worms. So let them stay. Let them hang out in that stuff. Let them enjoy it. And in time, they'll probably catch wind of the fact that, hey, over on the other side of the bin, there's some pretty awesome stuff. And I'm sure a lot of them will make their way over there into the feeding area. And I have a hunch that in 12 days, we might be back to give them their next feeding. We'll see. I can't guarantee it, but knowing myself and my weird interest in observing these nice round numbers, well, I can't seem to help myself. Look how dirty I got myself. I got some work to do here, getting things cleaned up, put away. So I'll take care of that once the camera stops rolling. Before I go really quick though, let me just say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye now.